FiTorch is a newer brand to me, and this is the first light I've had from them. It's designed for EDC use, has onboard charging via micro USB, has a strong magnetic tail cap, and a deep carry pocket clip. Thanks to Banggood for sending this to me to take a look at. So let's start by taking a look at the package here. And it's a black and orange package. On the back here, you've got all the important information, including a runtime chart. And then you've got some of the other information, such as 1000 lumen output. It'll run on turbo, it says, for a half hour. I'll show you more about that. The FL1 standard of 150 meters throw, candles, it's IPX water resistant. Nice little packaging. Inside you get the light itself, you get this nice pouch holster for it. It is branded with FiTorch. Inside there you get the O-ring, and you get a lanyard which you can attach to the tail of the light just by putting it through there. You get the instruction manual, which is nicely written in English. And then you get this USB cable. While I've got this out here, let me just show you a little comparison here. I've got a standard cable from Monoprice here on the top, and then I've got the cable the FiTorch ER16 comes with. And you can tell the FiTorch, the metal part here, is just a little bit longer, and that causes some issues that I'll go into more later. Here is the light itself. Starting at the back, you've got this very strong magnetic tail cap. And if I just take a knife here that I have in my pocket, I mean, it isn't coming loose at all. It's very on there. As mentioned before, you've got the area for the lanyard. Then you've got this knurling here. It's kind of a circular knurling with these areas milled out. I like this. It feels nice in the hand. It's not going to slip out. And those milled areas make it so you can twist it easily enough. The pocket clip here, I'll take a look at quick. It is very deep carry, which I like, and it's sturdy. And it really doesn't rotate around much. The cap's the easiest part to move. The button here is stainless steel, and it's fairly in place. It doesn't rotate much, and that clear bezel around there gives you different indications when the light's charging, not discharging, and if you press 3 times fast, you get a voltage check. On the back side here, you have this USB cable port for charging, and you can see that it's pretty deep and recessed in there. As I was saying, you've got to use the FiTorch cable. Standard micro USB cables aren't long enough. It's got some cooling fins here, and then here's the emitter itself. The bezel is lightly crenulated, the glass is anti-reflective coated, and that is a Cree LED in there, which I'll get to later in my review. Taking it apart quick, it just splits in the center here. There is the circuit board. Button top cells seem to work best for this light, and I'll talk about that more in here in a second. And here's the light with a CR123 installed, which is what FiTorch says to use in all the literature and the listings. However, I've got an Aspire 1100 18350 battery here. Now this is a flat top battery, but I've just stuck a little small magnet on top, and it fits in there perfectly. Zero problems with this battery in this light, and it gives you some extra runtime, which I'll explain. Weight comes in with battery and clip at 91.3 grams. I'll compare it with an Army Tech here, Prime 1, which I reviewed earlier. It's 87.9 grams, so just a little bit lighter with clip and battery. And then I've got an MSR D4 here, 117 grams. Length of the ER16 is 93.3 millimeters, 27.7 millimeters at its thickest point around the button, and 23.7 millimeters at its thinnest point. So I wanted to compare against some other lights I've reviewed, and we'll have to do this creatively so the magnets don't stick to each other. And at top here I've got the Army Tech Prime C1, and these lights both use the same style of batteries, and they are, for all make differences, just the same length. However, diameter-wise, you can see the Army Tech is just a little bit smaller. And to throw one other popular light in here, this is the MSR D4, and it's just the slightly longest than all three of these. For a 16340 light, it's just a little bit bigger than I expected it to be. For a front pocket EDC, the more lights I test, the more I've determined that one of the biggest important factors for me is the diameter. And the ER16 is just slightly bigger than I'd prefer. Like I was saying here, if you have an MSR D4, which many people have, It's just slightly under that. Lengthwise, the ER16 is pretty decent. That being said, I carried this in a pair of jeans pretty nicely this past week. I really like the clip, that deep carry clip. I'm glad more manufacturers are doing this. No complaints about the clip itself. It's strong and nicely coated as well. So this light uses a Cree XP L2 LED in cool white with a defined hot center. And I've got it here on a little bit lower exposure to show the what it looks like, the beam shot. Here are my night shots for the FiTorch ER16. And this light starts on turbo. And you can see here it throws nicely. It's 1,000 lumens. It's definitely got a hot spot here with quite a bit of spill. This thing is throwing way out to those trees, which you can see here in the camera. I've got the camera set fairly sensitive. It's got a nice throwy beam. Remember, this is a CR123 light. Next mode is down one to high. Down one more to medium. And this is the lowest mode here. It is just a lumen or two. Shows the stairs in front of me if I pan down. Again, you can see that nice hot spot there. This is a pretty effective beam pattern that I like. And if I double click, I get strobe with the full 1,000 lumens. Output on turbo is 1,000 lumens, medium is 340 lumens, and medium is 100 lumens. And there is a low lumen mode at 3 lumens. I'd like to see high be a little bit higher and low be a little bit lower under ideal circumstances, so it's a little more even on your modes. The beam has a defined hot center, as I was saying earlier, and the light throws better than I expected, easily out to 100 yards, which is pretty good for a light of this size. That's really down to that deep reflector. For my run times, I used a Keep Power 800 milliamp hour 16340 battery and the Aspire 1100 18350. The light does step down, as you can see from the graph here. It's making usable light out to about 90 minutes. With the 18350, medium lasts a bit longer, but that's the biggest difference, is how much longer low runs for. It makes usable light out to about 150 minutes before entering the low 3 lumen mode. If you can use an 18350 instead of a 16340 on this light, do so, because there's no penalty in doing so. The batteries weigh nearly the same, and you get a lot more capacity. The UI of this light goes as follows. First time you turn it on, you get turbo, press again, high, medium, low, and then back to turbo. And it's unfortunate that it starts off in turbo. I think this limits its practical EDC use because many times you don't want to start off at 1,000 lumens. There is a memory, but it's fairly short in how long it remembers. You can double click to get into strobe and single click to exit that mode. So if I just double click, you get strobe there, and single click to exit back to where you were. Lockout is accomplished by pressing and holding the switch on this indicator, which is hard to see under my video lights, will flash red once to let you know it's locked. Doing the same thing will unlock it and bring it on in low lumen mode. Voltage check is well done on this light. From off, it's a triple click the button 3 times. And first you get green flashes showing the first number of volts, so 3 would be 3 volts, and then you get red flashes showing the next digit. So 3 green flashes with 1 red flash would mean the battery's at 3.1 volts. And this light has onboard charging via micro USB on its body here at the back. You've got to remove this little cover to get access to it. And as I was mentioning before, the USB port is deep enough that it requires a longer than average cable connector. For me, this kind of defeats the purpose of micro USB charging if you can't use a standard cable. The light can charge at 1 amp, but didn't hold there for terribly long, only about the first 30 minutes before it started slowing down as the battery reached capacity. Terminating voltage was 4.1 volts in my test, and total charge time was 1 hour and 9 minutes on the 800 milliamp hour 16340. So for me, the pros are it's quick and fast charging for a 16340. It fits 18350s by surprise, and that's great for extra capacity. It's got a sturdy clip and a good strong magnet, and throws pretty well for an EDC light. The cons for me are that extra deep micro USB cable. That means most standard cables won't work for recharging, and I wish the UI would start on low instead of turbo. My conclusion is the FiTorch ER16 has some pretty stiff competition in this space and use case. For me, mainly it's the Army Tech Prime C1. And my Prime C1 probably wins out slightly due to its slightly smaller profile and button that's less prone to accidental activation. However, the ER16 throws further and has a smoother beam profile than my Prime C1 Pro. My recommendation for FiTorch is that they make the UI start on low and to not recess that micro USB connector quite so far so that you can use a standard cable to charge. If you don't mind these things, the ER16 is a nice light that charges pretty quick and has strong magnets. It'll work well in an EDC application. I'll have a link to where you can pick up the ER16 on Banggood, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching this review, and make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next one.